Good evening, everyone. 7:34. Today is Wednesday, August 13th. We're at a business session. We'll do the pledge and then we will go into the meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we have our meeting and then we're going to go into a special meeting, right? A special at the end of all of this. So we have a very full agenda tonight. So we're going to get started.
Are you going to do announcements?
Yeah, I'm sorry. After I just went through that whole rigmarole of asking if you have announcements. So we're going to start on my left. Sir, you want to, any announcements?
Yes, just one. Our annual 9/11 ceremony will be this year on 9/11, 7 p.m. down at the riverfront. It's a combined effort between Briar-Klopostning and OPD, and it's always a great ceremony. So 7 o'clock on 9/11 riverfront.
Open to everybody in the public is invited.
Yep.
It's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to go right here to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say thank you and give a shout out to members of the Civilian Police Complaint Review Board and our own Corporation Counsel, Stuart Kahan, because we had a meeting yesterday, our regularly scheduled monthly meeting, but we had special guests. We had members from the Peekskill CPCRB that joined us wanting to learn the ways, learn the ropes. How does Ossining do it? It was a great exchange to learn about how they're approaching it and be able to articulate how we do it. Stuart, as always, was a great resource, and it was great. So anytime that we can share information between municipalities is a great thing. So shout out to them for joining us and for our crew for representing.
Thank you. Ooh. Dana? Yeah,
And that is that I'm going to recuse myself from our first discussion.
great. Not great, but you're recusing yourself. I'm gonna have a couple of announcements. I just want to encourage everyone to, as the summer winds down, and I hate to even say it, maybe I shouldn't say it, but as we go to the end of the summer, we are still doing lots and lots of free concerts. It's a great idea. Get yourself some pizza at any one of our pizza places, delicious. Go to any of the delis, get some sandwiches, go see either at the park, River Jam. On Wednesday nights, there is usually in Market Square, et cetera, et cetera. So please enjoy all of the free events, many of which are done through some of the community members, but most of which are also done with the crew from our community center, which is, as many of you know, going through, let's call it enhancements for the next year or so. It started with the pool, the locker rooms, but everything on the inside of the building is being redone into the 22nd century, I'm going to go with, instead of saying 21st century. And it's a highly used environment. So I'm very excited about it. I do want to read something, which I actually received an email, but I'm going to leave the names out. I just want to read something because I think it's great. And we get a lot of these letters and we don't do this often enough. To put my glasses on. All right. Yeah, I don't know why you left so quickly. No, we were, but I'm going to have to do this because I want it in the record. Until last Monday, dear Mayor Levitt, until last Monday, my son, Noah, and his family lived in Ossining. I'm leaving all the addresses and names out because I don't have permission from this person. My grandson had been going out to watch the garbage men every morning for years. He's now 4. He's a true fan of theirs and was entranced by their ability to pick up all of the garbage on the street. They got to know Sammy and he got to know them. I'm writing you to say how kind Colin, Joseph, and Keith were to Sammy. One hopes to come across such kind people, but it's not a given. Ossining is lucky to have these 3 men and their crew of sanitation workers. They are truly wonderful people, and as Sammy can tell you, hard workers. Signed, Sammy's grandmother. I just want to say that I get lots of that. We live in a world right now of lots of worries and concerns about our neighbors, about our community, about communities across the country, across the world. Anger seems to be on an all-time high in so many ways among so many people that I have to tell you, as mayors, trustees, like we do get a lot of compliments and we sort of move right on. So I want to take a minute. I will say to you, Karen, that this weekend I actually was away, but half the people I kept bumping into are from this area. And the sanitation guys are talked about more than anything else I know about. And I think the reason is two of the people were seniors and they've lived here for each for over 40 years. I mean, they're a couple, so they've both been here for over 40 years and they moved here from the Bronx. And they talk about how in the winter they live on a dead end, so they're not a priority street for anybody, and they understand that, but they still have to go watch their kids so the parents can go to work. And our guys are always out there. Sometimes they'll bring the garbage cans right up to the door because they're elderly and it's slippery out there. So, you know, a lot of times I want to remind people that so much of what the municipality does is the roads, the sanitation, you know, the community center, the waterfront, trying to stay on top of the litter. You know, it's a continuous challenge in a community with so many people and an older infrastructure. So we do actually get letters. We don't read them often enough, but I know, Paul, you're on. So I wanted to just do a shout out and put it on the public record. And not only because when these guys come up for raises, they might want to use this moment. I'm kidding, a little joke. Look, the manager just turned 3 shades of gray over here. No, they're really great guys. And I want to thank everybody that works in this village on a regular basis as we go into September and the schools start. September 2nd is the first day of school. I'll be at the school next week, actually welcoming new educators, something I do every year. The supervisor is usually there. Dana Levenberg is sometimes. We go on different days. It's really an honor to do it, but it reminds me that it's like the beginning of everybody being back together and the year kicking off. What grades are yours going into?
Pre-K and first grade.
Uh,
Let's go.
Great schools and best years, in my opinion. That was great. So good. All right. We are ready for the more serious part of the meeting, but I wanted to let folks know about this as well, because this is the joy of actually being elected officials. You're on.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. First on our agenda, we have Brent Glass, who's the Executive Director of the Sing Sing Prison Museum. And tonight, Brent will be making a presentation and a request. As most of you know, we have some Sing Sing museum items that are currently at the community center. I think that Sing Sing Prison would like to make sure that they're incorporated in the new preview center. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Brent Glass. Brent, you can just tell Jamie when you need to change the slide and we'll run the presentation for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Karen and Mayor and trustees. Thank you for letting me make a brief presentation to you to request your approval or for consideration to transfer some of the community center exhibition that pertains to Sing Sing Prison to the Sing Sing Prison Museum. And I can explain the details of what we're doing. I thought, Jamie, next slide. I would give you a little background in that, as you know, the museum will be located at the Olive Opera House. We're very excited to be in a partnership with the owners of the Opera House and the neighboring bookstore to develop what I think will be a cultural and educational center in the heart of Ossining. Renovation is moving forward quickly over the summer. Working closely with the building department, building inspector in Ossining, we've been able to move ahead rather quickly. The Opera House consists of, in addition to the bookstore, we'll be developing a gallery on the first floor, about 1,000 square foot gallery that we hope will open in the fall. Above the gallery will be a mezzanine that will be for collection storage. And above the mezzanine, on the second level, the museum will have two small galleries, about 500 square feet each, and access to a beautiful public program space that you see in the cutaway here, where we think we can hold anywhere from 100 to 125 people for lectures, film screenings, seminars. We'll continue to work with the Ossining Public Library. We've developed a good partnership with the library, but this space in the Olive Opera House will be a great asset for the museum and for the community. Next slide. This is a rendering of what the gallery will look like on the first floor. It's a narrow space, about 1,000 square feet, as I said. We're looking from Central Avenue to the back of the gallery. On the right, and what you see here is not exactly the way this exhibit will be laid out, but on the right will be banners with texts about different themes pertaining to Sing Sing prison and its history. There'll be a timeline that will outline the milestones over the past 200 years from 1825 to the present. That'll be on the right, and on the left will be information about some of the organizations that are involved in justice reform, Hudson Link for Higher Education, Rehabilitation Through the Arts, the Osborne Association. Many of these are familiar to you. So we're going to feature stories about what's going on today. And then in the back wall of the gallery will give visitors a chance to interact with different interactive exhibitions, and also listen to oral history interviews. So that's basically the plan for the first floor gallery. What you don't see in this rendering is a space that will have two chairs that were made at Sing Sing, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So let's go to the next slide. What we're asking is a request to transfer several items from the community center prison exhibit to the Sing Sing Prison Museum. I was pleased to hear the mayor talk about the improvements to the community center, and we're going to be doing our part by removing what was an outstanding exhibit for many years. The exhibit opened in 1991, so it's stood the test of time, but it's time to bring that exhibit into the 21st century. And we can do that by moving some of the items in the exhibit and also removing the text panels, which are dated and which need to be put in storage or mothballed or even discarded. We can talk about that in a minute. The items we want to accession into our collection are the electric chair reproduction and the drawing that accompanies the reproduction, and the prisoner weapons or contraband that are displayed in a case in the community center exhibit. And then we also want to transfer or accession the text panels. There are about 10, including a photo montage. We're also asking permission to scan one of the movie posters that is on display in the Village Hall, the Angels with Dirty Faces movie poster that we want to scan and reproduce and display a scan of that movie poster in our exhibition in the gallery. Next slide. So this is a photo of the reproduction electric chair. I call it a reproduction because it was never used at Sing Sing or in any of the state facilities, but it was in New York State. It was made by an incarcerated individual, Clarence McCants Jr., who made the chair as a symbol of what he felt was important for visitors to know about the brutality of capital punishment. So it was made fabricated as a protest. And the reason we know this is the New York Times covered the opening of the exhibit at the community center in 1991 and quoted Clarence McCants about what motivated him to create this reproduction of an electric chair. There's also a text panel above the chair which explains a little more about its fabrication. So that's one object that we would like to transfer. And this chair will be paired with another chair that was made at Sing Sing. This is a chair that's is owned by the New York State Museum in Albany. And it was a chair made for Governor Teddy Roosevelt when he was governor of New York. And it was made by the incarcerated men at Sing Sing in their workshop. So we're going to have these two chairs side by side, both made at Sing Sing, in a sense, in conversation with each other on the work and the workshops of Sing Sing and what they produced, and the political symbolism, the symbolism of the punishment of the electric chair. It will be a very robust and I think engaging exhibition with just these two chairs side by side. We're not going to permit people to sit in the chair or be photographed in either of these chairs. This is not a recreational display, and so we're going to treat this thoughtfully and sensitively as we should. Next slide. The contraband, the prisoner weapons, we don't know as much about these weapons. Some of them have tags, and I know Dana White has recused herself, but she is a tremendous resource, as you know, from her days as village historian and also her research about Sing Sing. So she's been helping us create some of the label captions and do research on photographs. But we want to accession these. We're not sure how we will display them, if we will display them, but we think that it's important that they be preserved. Next slide. There are also 10 exhibit text panels and a photo montage that we're requesting to transfer to the museum. Most of the research in this in this exhibit is quite good, but because 35 years have passed, there's some dated language, inappropriate language, and some research that is not up to date. So we wouldn't recommend displaying these panels publicly, but we would scan the information, we would create a digital archive, and probably discard these at a certain point when we have a chance to think about what our plan would be for the future. Next slide. And then, as I mentioned, the poster, the Angels with Dirty Faces poster, we would like to scan this poster and then include it in our display on the theme of popular culture and Sing Sing prison. So next slide, I think we're finished. That's the end
That's
of
the end.
Okay. So I'm happy to take any questions. We will, of course, be responsible for any costs that are involved in removing these items from the community center and responsible for the care and preservation of these items, at least the electric chair and the contraband in the future.
Thank you and welcome, Brent. All good stuff. Stuart, could you just enlighten me? We don't usually give away assets owned by the village and the people of the village of Ossining. So could you enlighten me about what's entailed here? And could you also enlighten me the difference between lending this to the museum for long term with responsibility versus giving it away?
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I was going to ask a question before that,
Oh,
which is
Stu.
who actually owns this?
Mhm.
Is the village of Ossining actually own the chair that we're talking about? Because I don't know that, or the same with the displays and the text panels. I'm not sure In other words, it's one thing to lend something, but if actually you don't have the ownership of the thing to lend, becomes a bit of a problem. So I don't know what the provenance is, so to speak, of all those things.
From my research, the village owns
The
it.
village owns it?
Mhm.
If,
Yes, I was wondering about that myself, Stuart, because and Omar, I'd be interested in what documentation you've been able to find, because the exhibit was paid for by I guess it was the Urban Cultural New York State Cultural Project that's now Heritage Parks, I guess, or Heritage Areas. And so it was a state grant that paid for the or maybe it was a state grant to the village that created the exhibit, but I'd be interested in any provenance you've been able to find.
if we assume that the village is now the owner, could the village lend to the museum? The answer, there is nothing that prohibits that. There would have to be obviously an agreement between the village and Sing Sing Prison Museum with regard to that. Brent, I'm assuming you're looking at a long-term, certainly in terms of the chair and the prison weapons, you're looking at a long-term situation. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. The one that I do want to ask you about is with the exhibit text panels. I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure discarding it is what it would be something the village would necessarily want, because I'm not sure who produced it, but I don't know if discarding it is to do that. But to answer, Mayor, your question, let me deal with the easiest one first. Scanning the poster is not a problem.
Great.
That's easy.
Right.
Although I don't know why we're not doing 20,000 years at Sing Sing. You know, I mean, that to me is one of those great Cagney films that we could put up there. But putting that aside for a second, I do think there could be a long-term agreement. Obviously, you know, as Brent said, maintenance would be something that would be important. And in terms of everything like that, I would just want to confirm that the village is in fact the owner, that it's not in essence on a long-term loan to the village. Not that the state may have an objection, but if it's not necessarily ours, I want to make sure of that first. But in terms of the village ability to, lend something to a museum like this, there is no prohibition with regard to that. But it would be something that this board would have to approve to do
Right.
through a resolution.
Could I ask, is it possible for us to purchase these items at a symbolic price? So that because we're going to be incurring expense to care for and protect and secure certainly the chair, and I'd rather have ownership. And if there's an opportunity to acquire it for a reasonable price, could we consider that?
The more difficult part to that is there may well be a value to that. And for a limited consideration for the museum may not necessarily be in the village's best financial interest, because there could be someone out there who collects such memorabilia who might be saying, I'd like to have that. So
Well,
I can't, and I don't want to speak to the board to that. That's just a consideration for the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, that's sort of, so selling an asset, look, from my perspective, you're the right place to have it. But it's not my property. You know, we're stewards for the village. And as a precedent-setting issue, I prefer not to sell things. That doesn't mean I wouldn't like to let you have it for 5 years. It is actually important that it stays in good shape and that you take care of it and all that. Because it is on loan and people do on loan all the time. We're not going to get tax benefits from this. We're not going to. The problem is that if we sell it to you, we're going to have to put it in a public auction. We can't just decide to sell it to you for $100 because we feel like that's what we want to do. It's not fair to the public. I think a better idea is to put it on loan, make sure you have insurance on it, make sure you take care of it. All of this assumes that somebody says that we own it or that nobody else owns it, right? And it's been sitting with us, and we could do a 5-year, which I think is a nice long term. Because as a rule, we don't sell things. And it's not ours to just donate, in my opinion. So 5-year with a renewable after that, because there may be another museum that wants it. There may be another at the end of the day, Sing Sing Museum is a nonprofit organization. It's not actually part of the municipality itself. It has its own board. The board may want to raise money and somebody wants to pay $100,000 because they like that chair and it's yours and you raise money. And as funny as that may sound, there are universities that have had legal cases because their museums have done that to raise money for the university. And those are already, precedent-setting issues. So I think Stuart was going, so I think you're the right place. That's not my question. The copying of the poster, you and I already talked, that's like a no-brainer. Have at it, make as many copies, make it the cover of something. I'd rather just give it to you in trust with a nice little thing that says, on loan from the village of Ossining and its residents. And then if you want to send it around to Minneapolis because they want to see the chair, we leave you in charge of it, but we give and we want it back in the same condition on behalf of the people. And the next board will decide what they decide. That is my singular position. I'm not speaking for the whole board. That's just, and I think 5 years is a nice long chunk of time that you could do something with that. The other pieces I would say the same about. Because we just don't give our assets. We don't take statues and we don't take trees and we don't sell them to people for $100 or $1,000, because that's going to kick off an entire other process that I think will actually not benefit either the museum or the village in the long term. Now, the first question is the most important. Let's make sure. And if no one else owns it, but it sits with us, then whatever we do. But if we lend it, that seems to avoid the whole selling thing because we could just put on loan. And if 3 years from now, a state something comes down and says, hey, it's actually not yours, we'll say, okay, then whoever is the CEO of this non-profit and their board can please have a discussion with them about that and have at it. That's my opinion. And Brent, I'll get back. I just want to hear from the
Yeah.
other board members. Pat
Sure.
is Pat voting remotely? Is that what's happening here? Oh, that's right, because this is a works, I got it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, and the special. Okay, that I got. I'm sorry. Do you mind if we go this way or? Okay, let's go to the right. There's only 2.
Brent, thank you for sharing the information. My sentiments echo the mayor's. The poster's no problem. The loan, assuming we can figure out the particulars, make a lot of sense to me. And grateful for you taking this step to taking care of our village history in this way. One question that I have for the village manager is, if we weren't to do this, what would we be doing with these materials, considering the changes happening at the community center?
That's a good question.
Yes.
I think as the mayor, I think as the mayor said, Sing Sing Prison Museum is absolutely the right place for these things to be housed. There's not necessarily, I think, an appropriate way. I mean, obviously you can put an installation anywhere and create,
Do it in this room. That's
yeah,
it.
but I think that the appropriateness of it at the Sing Sing Museum is, makes perfect sense. I can't think of a better place. If there were no Sing Sing Prison Museum, then I think we probably would look at putting an installation, whether it would be at Village Hall, whether it would be at a different municipal building in a different format. Hopefully one where it would be more visible and then we could
Library.
tell the story a bit more, maybe in partnership with the library. But other than that, we don't really have any thoughts because the Sing Sing Prison Museum seemed like a natural fit, even to loan the installation display.
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks.
Brent, thank you. I'm gonna.
Yes,
I'm gonna
go ahead.
agree with my colleagues here, so we'll put it all together.
Yeah. Pat, you have anything?
No, I don't have anything incremental to say. I think I look forward
Okay.
to seeing the final the final museum. So thank you.
Okay. So Brent, do you have, I understand where you're going, but I think you understand that it isn't whether it should be there or not. That's not,
Yes.
not having we're not having a debate about that. It's a village assets on behalf of the village. And the lending seems to just be
Hmm.
a better way to do it, which I think, unless you tell me why that wouldn't really work,
We-
it
yeah.
seems that it should work from our perspective.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I understand what the trustees and what the mayor is saying. And I would only if the village was another museum that was a collecting institution and that had museum functions as part of the village services, that might be a little different. But the village does not have a museum staff, doesn't have a curator, doesn't have a museum educator. So we're in a sense performing a service that the village doesn't have the capacity to perform right now. So while I would really recommend a fee simple transfer, but if it was ever put up for sale, the way this sale could be written would be that it would be for educational or cultural purposes. I agree with you that people, if it didn't have some conditions, there might be someone who would bid, and we don't want to get into that situation. So if the loan was made as long as you possibly could make it, or make it and that it's renewable, just like the lease we have for the Olive Opera House is a 10-year lease with 5-year renewable, 3 5-year renewable options, something that would ensure the long-term, as long as possible. And again, best practices in museums, 5 years is probably a minimum loan if you're going to be taking care of it. And quite honestly, in the last couple of years, the electric chair has been a greater risk because the community center has been going through such a transition. I think it's mostly storage there now. And I'm concerned about the current condition. I haven't inspected it recently. So I think it's important that we move it as soon as possible into a safer, more secure situation. And we will go with whatever the village considers the best practice.
Great, thank you. So I think it'll be along with a plaque that tells the public that it's on their behalf, on behalf of the village of Ossining and its people. And, and Stuart, you will work out, I think you've got the direction for next, and you'll look at it and let us know. And, and to your point, I didn't think about it. I don't think anything should be discarded because a lot of those panels are self-explanatory. I mean, for years, they've been sitting, in that section in the community center, like, is a self-explanatory panels and all that other stuff. So, okay, I think we have a next step. Am I correct on everything? Okay. This is great. I think this
Thank
is a
you.
win-win for everybody. It'll be well taken care of, it'll be educational, and the village still has its asset if in the future something might change, either with this or a board request or whatever. So I think we're good. Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brett. Appreciate you
Thank
coming.
you.
By the way, the first slides, thank you for doing the whole presentation, not just what your request is, which is what I was expecting, because I got to see where you are with what the museum looks like, and it looks fabulous. Really looks terrific. Can't wait till the multimodal part is done so that those
Yes.
100 people or 150 people can park
Mhm.
their car and then go and get pizza afterwards.
Yes.
That'll be great.
Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Brent. Next, Bill Garrison, our Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, is on Zoom, and we're talking about a couple of things. We can provide a haunted kill update for 2025. Recently, Bill, myself, Trustee White, Alan Lutwin from Westchester Collaborative Theater, and Joyce Markovic and Jeff Shoemaker from the Placemaking Committee, along with Veronica Roach from the Rec Department, met to discuss Sing Sing Kill, Haunted Kill, Haunted Sing Sing Kill, or I'm getting my kills, they're all Sing Sing, everything's Sing Sing tonight. The Haunted Kill 2025. So Bill can give a little update on that. And we also have some updates on Wishney Park, our fountain and our weed removal, as well as some updates on the holiday tree and our options for that. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Bill.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So yeah, so we're excited. We're moving into, well, we're winding down our busy summer schedule with all of our special events and concerts, as the mayor had indicated earlier. But we are always thinking ahead, and we've got a busy month coming up in October with all of our Halloween events. Last year was the first year, as you know, that we did the Haunted Kill, and it was very successful. We've got a lot of interest in doing it again. We're looking to do it for 2 days, one, because of the amount of work that goes involved decorating and getting ready for this. The preparation is a lot. That 2 nights might be beneficial. So we're looking into that. So we're busy working on that. We will probably have more details out soon about what we're looking at. Some things that went well, things that didn't go well. We've been very we had a meeting at the end of the program last year, and we got some great ideas, and that carried that over. So we look to make some great improvements. So we're very excited about that. The Wishney Pond, I can talk about. So we've got 2 issues.
Does anybody have any questions about the Haunted Kill before we go on to the next subject? Okay. Sorry, Bella, just making sure everybody.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. So the pond at Wishney Park. So got 2 issues going on there. One, as we know, and we had discussed previously in a meeting here, is regarding the fountain. We do have 3 quotes for a fountain that's going to be proposed to be put in there. This is it's a 25 horsepower Otterbein fountain. It's going to look very similar to the fountain that was in there before, but it's just going to be a little bit more powerful. We do have to do an electrical upgrade, which we've already spoken to the electrician about, so that we can get the power that's needed there, which is not going to be a problem. This fountain is ready to go. It was a fountain that was purchased for the Pepsi property, and they did not take that. So the local distributor has that fountain available, so it's ready to go as soon as that we get approval and go through that process of purchasing it, which is good, because if we had to go anywhere else, it would take another 4 to 6 weeks to get that fountain. This is a different manufacturer fountain than the last one, because I know that was a concern of many people on the board. So we did take that into consideration in trying to see what was the right fountain to put into there. The other issue that's going on in Wishney is the invasive milfoil and algae that has been created. This is partially due to the fact that there was not a fountain in there. When the fountain stopped working, we did put in extra aerators to try to maintain the oxygen level in the pond, which we were able to do. We did not have any fish die off or any other marine life that was affected by that, so we were able to maintain that. But if you look at the pond, it did get a lot of milfoil and algae. We have a solution to that. We have a company that is coming in from Rochester, New York. They come in with a Voo Ws, which is kind of an excavator that goes onto the water. It chops up the milfoil and scrapes it all up and dumps it out onto the banks, which our Parks Department then will haul away from there. This will be a good thing to do, because we can get all that out of there, get the fountain going, and get that pond in a good shape during the end of the summer here and into the fall, so that we'd be in a real good shape starting in the spring with the fountain. I don't know if this invasive milfoil is something that we're gonna have to deal with. in the future, or if the fountain is going to be powerful enough to keep the water moving so that it doesn't grow. So that's something that we're going to have to take a look at. This is an invasive species that many ponds get overwhelmed on, and something that we'll just have to kind of see and monitor very closely. There's also other alternatives that we could do if we prepare for it, using herbicides and aqua herbicides that would go in there that we'd have to contract that out to licensed professionals. So that's the update for Wishney Pond, and if anybody has any questions, I can do my best to answer.
Anybody? No? Okay. So, hi, Bill.
Hello. Good evening.
So I walk there quite a bit. There's a lot of, it's a highly used place. I mean, so
Yes.
I don't see that many people fishing, but it's probably because of the times that I go. I'm sure there's lots of people fishing there. So everything affects everything else. So the question I have for you is, when you say, we're gonna have to have somebody look at it, this starts adding up and adding up from a funding point of view. So I'm wondering if it's big enough, it's bigger than a bread box now, that we can contact either T-Town or Cornell Cooperative to see if somebody can come down here and not have to pay just professionals to clean up, but actually get people who are experts in an environmental restructuring to look at the pond, because there's a lot of poison oak and a lot of poison ivy. There's also lots, it's not just the overgrowth, it's like invasive everything over there. Some of the trees need to be pulled out, but if you do that, you're damaging the pond itself or the life in the pond and the ecosystem. Everything affects everything in the environment. So I feel like if we go piecemeal, maybe we should be looking to bring in, Cornell has a lot of programs, there might be some grants to really look at the whole place and not just solve each problem reactively, but actually look at all of the plantings and all of the ecosystem there and make a recommendation of what to pull out, maybe get a grant to do that, because it really adds up very, very quickly. Maddie, you're like the environmental guru you look into. What are your thoughts on this? Because I know Cornell has a huge program and we're involved with them on the waterfront.
Yep.
Not about ponds, but
We have a very good relationship with Cornell Cooperative. The thing I was thinking too is maybe this is something that, the EAC and Jamie can be helpful with. I don't know that that's the case here, but I'm sure that other folks have heard about this in the past. When folks get a turtle or a fish that they decide they don't want anymore, they dump the tank in a place like this. And sometimes that's where some of these invasive species can come from.
Right.
So maybe in addition to contacting Cornell Cooperative, who I suspect would be happy to come out gratis and just kind of take a walk around with us, I think that perhaps a public information campaign around, don't dump here, might also go a long way.
Yeah, so I agree with you about the education. I've gone to other location where the environment, whether it's a lake or, upstate New York, the Berkshires, but there are a number of gardens that you could see the municipalities take care of. And they're not real gardens. They're more like sort of lakefronts, and they're tiny. They're like the size of these two tables. And there are signs there that say, do this, don't do that. This is what happens. So people, I mean, years ago, the bay, the entire Long Island Bay was polluted because some people brought stuff up from Florida that literally destroyed the bay for 5 years. It was actually black. You could see the water because of these predatory fish and it took them a number of years to get rid of them, all because people came up from Florida, didn't want the fish they brought up, threw them in the bay and created a real problem. So it doesn't take a lot in some of these environments, but it takes an expertise. So I would try to use our, and look at it not as react to this, because I feel like, what is that saying I use? It's like popcorn, and every time it pops somewhere, we all run towards it. We fix that. It's like $10,000 here and 30,000 there and another 15 there. When in fact, we should probably look at everything. And if we have to pull some trees out without damaging the walkway and stuff, we should probably look at what it looks like for 26. What Bill was saying, that it may come back, I sort of feel like everything environment will 100% come back, not may. and infestation of so many things that we have going on, from poison ivy everywhere now to I forgot what they're called, the lanterns, which are everywhere. And there's a time in the year that you can actually spray, and I know Karen's looking into it while they're
Did that, we did
right.
do that too.
So and vacuum them, it's like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think you have to look at the whole thing, because you can't, in the environment and ecosystems, you can't fix one little thing. The fountain piece, which is the topic we're really here to discuss, but I want to look at the whole Wishney Park, is seems like the board is good with it. I'm like getting, am I right about this? Yeah. Pat, you're
Yes.
good? Okay.
Yes,
I think
yes.
The big topic, but the long-term issues of maintaining that park. Now, we do have, Bill, where are we with Friends of the Parks? Has that moved forward, or is there anybody in charge of that? Because this is exactly the type
I'll
of
jump.
thing
I'll
that
jump in on that,
they can
Bill,
help
because
with.
that's. So I'll jump in on that.
Oh,
We got
Pat,
pretty
I'm
far down the
sorry.
road, and yep, yeah. So so we got pretty far down the road, and then we had trouble pulling everybody together, and then summer came, and the plan was to to come back and circle back after the summer and try and really get the thing done. So
Because that goes a long way also to education. They might be able to pull something together because they're members of our community, and might also be helpful in some ideas to have a group of people just focus on this while we're focused on many other things. So that might also
yeah,
be somewhat helpful. Great.
yeah, and
Fair.
so that's on my plate. Okay. So,
Okay, we'll add that on to the Pat Yost plate.
So let me ask, so the fountain we can move ahead with, what about the removal of the plant stuff?
Well, I think you have to.
We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna move ahead.
That's scheduled for Bill, the 28th and 29th. He's.
And then we'll do a
confirmed,
more
correct?
holistic look.
I think you have to look at, and I think Karen knows this. I
Right.
mean, you have to look at the whole thing.
It is something that we've discussed because there are a lot of invasive plants and vines there. And, you know, we were talking about, you know, you get rid of the wood rats, but now we have snails that are invasive. Like, and it may be, Maddie, I didn't actually think of that, but it may be people dumping stuff out because that is a problem in the Hudson River where this
Yeah.
stuff grows. So we can certainly do the outreach and education and maybe put some signs up at the park itself. But I think, you know, the same way we look at crawbucking and we try to maintain the vines and, you know, balance the invasives to, you know, keep them at bay and make sure we're promoting native species and wildlife. We are, you know, we're planning to do that at Wishney Park. And I think also the reinstitution of, you know, reestablishment of the Friends of Wishney Park. There are so many people who love that park. We have some names for you, Pat, if you need some names for members, but
Yeah.
people we know.
okay.
So anyway, you know, but Bill and his team have been working hard to keep it as clean and nice as we can under the circumstances. And after the next couple of weeks, we should be free of Asian milfoil for a while. And once we can get the fountain up and running, we'll be back
That
in
will solve
business.
some of the problems. Okay.
Yes.
So we're talking about 30-something thousand plus another 10 for the cleanup, or 15. something
The
like that.
cleanup is 58,000, 5,800 rather. I'm
Right.
sorry.
So
58.
40,000. All right. Okay. Bill, what else do you have? I feel like your name's all over the agenda tonight.
Well, I have to talk about the Christmas tree.
Ah,
So we
Holiday tree.
holiday tree. Thank you. So I got the information from the holiday tree that the board had looked at from the placemaking committee, and I followed up with that and found that this price got 3 prices on the trees. It's very difficult because these are all custom made type of trees, so there's no same make or model. But just looking at pictures from 3 different companies, we're able to get 3 different quotes as required for our procurement policy. There was the price, the tree that was recommended had the lowest price. When it dug deeper into this is a overseas company in China. where we would have to purchase it from there. It'd have to be shipped from there. They do not, it would have to be paid for in advance, which is something that the village doesn't do. They do not accept purchase orders. So there's some problems with that. In speaking with the two other companies that are USA based in North Carolina, I did ask them, like, what's the difference here? Why is this so much cheaper than what you guys are proposing? And they basically just said that it's the materials that are used are not as good quality. One thing is that tree that was recommended that is made in China only has a 1-year warranty. The trees that are made in the United States have a 5-year warranty. So there is a difference. However, the difference is about $30,000 for a 32-foot tree. So the cheapest, the next best price was from Carpenter's Decorating. That tree for a 32-foot would be $38,643. They do accept POs, which is the way we do business. We do not have to put any money down since we are a municipality. We do have some other options that I gave Karen, and I know that she sent out, going for a smaller tree. It does bring the price down significantly. So that's another option that we have. Or looking at totally other different trees as well. So I guess what I'm saying here at this point is that the tree that was recommended from this one company is probably not the best way to go.
So when you say significantly, the price comes down from 30-something thousand to what? What's the price?
Let me see here. Karen's not there. I do have that.
I'm sorry.
I can bring it up. I have the email.
I have everything right here. So the price for the tree that was recommended was, I think, 8,600 or 8,900. Then we went to, I believe, the next price though, I have for the 32-foot tree was $55,000. And then another company had the same tree. Again, we're looking at pictures that look pretty much the same at $68,000. So you're talking about a dramatic increase in costs.
Yeah, let me just make one correction, Karen. So that Carpenters, when speaking with them today, are giving us a bigger discount. So that.
Oh, okay. All right. So that was updated. Sorry.
38,643 would be that price for the 32-inch or 32-foot. Sorry.
Okay, so they're giving us a discount, and then subsequently, that was 32-foot tree. We could go with a smaller tree, and I sent some prices earlier today. Let me just pull it up.
Is this the 20, what's in the letter? What's in the
Yes.
Yeah,
email 26/21/17?
yeah.
Is that this
Carpenter?
tree that I have on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the tree. Yep.
So you can see it looks like, for all intents and purposes, almost identical to what that was presented. However, it is the US made trees are significantly more expensive. But we do think that has to do with the quality materials, and not to disparage any one company, but for something that we're going to pay several $1,000s for, if it breaks really quickly, even at $8 or $9,000, and we don't really have it anymore, it's better probably to have something that's warranted for a longer time. And also, we do require a purchase order to purchase something, so it would be a little bit more challenging with our auditors were we to purchase something without a purchase order.
And sorry, we were going to ask something else.
I'm just waiting.
Okay, so the spheres are all, like, we looked at it, they come with the spheres, the setup, all of that, and the platform or anything we want to put it on, we'd have to build ourselves, right?
That was one thing that we talked about. There's some issues that we want to make sure. Right now, the way our current tree is set up is it's the trunk is actually, the lights start quite high up, so they're sort of out of reach of people pulling at them, or any attractive nuisance type of damage. This sits much closer to the ground, so we would want to consider some sort of decorative type fencing, or just a physical visual barrier, so that people aren't necessarily inadvertently harming the tree or, hopefully nobody would vandalize our beautiful holiday tree here. The other thing too, with a smaller tree, we could still raise it up, but have it on a platform, which will also serve as a benefit to sort of protect it a little bit more. So, it would be really hard to match the size of our current tree, which I think is significantly higher than 32 feet. That said, this is a temporary, initiative. It's not meant to be forever. It would be nice to have something that we can use in other ways, in the future that lasts longer than a year or two. If we're going to invest, there's certainly other ways we can use it, going forward, and including in various other places or triangles around the village. But I think that we should consider something that's somewhat durable. That said, I think recreating what we have is a bit challenging.
I do have the prices for the smaller tree. A 26-foot tree would be $29,495. A 21-foot tree is $21,247, and then a 17-foot tree would be $15,319.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it's an outdoor item. I think it has to have some height to it, and I would build a platform to keep animals, kids, whatever. And so we'll lift it up so that it could be visible, and then it can be moved. I like the 5-year warranty part because, it's a winter item and it's outdoors. So I think warranty is actually, I have no idea about the quality. That's just, every vendor is going to say the other guys, I have no idea, but I do know that municipality should probably buy US made, rather than have it come from another country, but we buy lots of things that are made in other countries. So it's, again, I don't know where to come out. I'm just assuming it's made better, than, and that it'll get here on time for hopefully Christmas of
Yes.
this year. So that would be nice. So that will be helpful. I feel like you want to say something.
You
I
guys,
think
do you
we're
want
all
to,
done.
anybody?
No, I
want to say
think
anything?
Dana, you're like placemaking. Any commentary here? I mean, you don't have to, I'm just.
No, I agree. The bigger the better, otherwise it's going to be kind of one little tree. But it's a lot of money for the US made one, for the, it's a lot. But I guess it depends on how long we're going to have it and how long we're going to use it, and can always move it around, but the other option is to go back to the drawing board and start over and find something tall but cheaper.
Right.
We liked this one, but I'm not sure we all understood the various nuances of municipal purchasing.
We also had a different
Red
price.
tape.
Yeah, but originally the price
No,
was.
yeah, but yeah, there's just a
Yeah, okay.
difference, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
all appropriate. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you gonna ask something, Karen?
So I think that it would be helpful if we could, if we want to go in this direction for the board to identify the budget that we work with, which would dictate what we could get for this particular tree. We did look at the company that sells where we bought our LED snowflakes that we put on the street posts. They don't have anything like this, but they have trees that range from very affordable, which are basically a pole with string lights,
Oh, I've seen it.
making the shape of a tree, which you could get quite large for closer to the original price of this tree. It's very simple. It's just going to be lights, and that's
I've
it.
seen those.
Or the more traditional trees, but they don't really have anything that's this custom. So, that would be another option. But, it would not, be what was obviously recommended, but it would be another cost-effective option.
I mean, I'd rather have as tall as possible and as less expensive as possible, but still acceptable aesthetically. It just maybe this one isn't going to really work out. I guess it's just too extravagant.
Jamie, do you have I have a link on that email?
Yep.
at the bottom for display, if the companies display something, if you can hit that link and it should pull up the options for trees.
Can you see that
That's it.
now? I'm not sure if it changed the.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you go to the Christmas tree of lights, I think those were the relatively, yeah, those trees, which are far less those are the least expensive, but very, very simple.
Is that as tall as it comes, 25 feet?
I believe that's what they have there, the tallest. We can ask them if they have anything taller. And then Jamie, if you just go to the next one, the pop-up trees,
Okay.
which were, I think, the second most expensive, that they had. Yeah. So these are the more traditional trees, but these are the pop-up trees. Again, these are, I think, slightly more expensive, but, not as expensive as the custom globe tree. They're narrow too. They're not very wide tree. They're
I
like
kind of
pencil
like the
trees.
string one.
The string ones.
Yeah. Can we go back to that?
Yeah, could you go back to the
Municipalities.
tree of lights?
What's a panel Christmas tree?
Those were as expensive as the other
Okay.
trees. I think it's the way the panels.
I mean, that's
the way
kind of
they're
cool, 'cause it's
constructed.
sculptural and it's not completely literal, but it's a tree, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Is there
This is what it
is
looks
there
like.
is in the color field, is there a drop down available for multicolor instead of just cool white?
I don't think.
Like look over, like no, go back to that. And
See
then
the
there's
bottom, Jamie? I don't think so. I think that's
Yeah.
just the way it's displayed. I can, I mean,
Multicolored,
we can
yeah.
certainly look into whether they have colored ones.
Sorry, it's
Well,
not.
they do because it had the multicolored
Oh,
was
okay.
one of the picks, but
They
I
have a
was
multi-
looking to see
Okay.
if it would put a multicolored picture on it.
Okay, good. Okay.
is there a picture of the multicolor?
Yeah, she'll do it now.
No, I just
No,
clicked
it's
on it.
not
doesn't-
coming up,
doesn't
though.
Open up.
I'm sure we could get a
Yeah.
picture, but this is, far less expensive option, but would give you close to the height. Be more at 25 feet.
And it's temporary.
Yeah.
we're gonna
It's
have
definitely
to- We
temporary.
have to find an actual green tree at some point. It's probably about 3 to 4 years, I would say, no?
Yeah.
3 to 5 years, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, like, let's hope 3 to 4 years.
4 years? Okay,
Well,
I'm not, I'm
okay,
not,
5. Let's just say 5.
I'm not being
maybe it'll be
sarcastic
sooner.
or anything. I'm just
No,
being
I-
realistic.
yeah,
I
no,
think
that's
3 to 5,
realistic.
right?
3 to 5.
So that's gonna
certainly.
last about 3, those things, it's a fraction of the cost. We can call the vendor and see if they have a size they're just not posting, but they might have a 30-foot, who knows, 32 feet. We don't know. Certainly reasonably priced.
You also want to make sure if it gets windy, that the thing will stay up, but
Jamie,
Well,
does it have a
sometimes
bigger
people
size
don't-
than that on the size?
No,
Uh,
it's not showing anything larger than 25 feet.
Okay.
You might want to just call them. Okay, regardless, it's a less expensive option. Are people okay with this, even though that wasn't a recommendation? I mean, it looks, I've seen these before. Big indoor, like a Grand Centrally kind of place, they use these kind. So, ceilings are so high. Okay, any comments on this? Oh, on this side?
I paid for the whole seat, but I'm only using the edge, waiting to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Well, Bill, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your Freudian slip in calling it a Christmas tree. Um,
This case,
well, it is. It's the only tree you decorate during the year.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of any of our artificial trees. It's my opinion. I'm in favor of a live tree. I know we can probably purchase a 15 to 20-foot evergreen similar to what's out in front of the operations center for probably $1,000 or less. So depending on if you want to put it somewhere, if you want to put it temporarily in Market Square and build something around it, that's my opinion.
I'm just gonna say that I bought a 4-foot tree and it cost 500
and-
something dollars, but
and-
okay.
and I
I don't
forgot.
think it's 1,000, but it may not be 30,000.
One key point, as far as being fiscally responsible to our residents, I think spending this kind of money on something that's temporary is a lot of money.
Okay. So I will say that for 25 foot, if you try to buy an actual tree and plant it will be about that. Because I've looked into trees for my own property. And I'm telling you that 4 to 5 feet costs in this area, and then you have to plant them because the bigger they are, the more expensive it is to plant. And we're not having our guys plant. That's not their expertise. It'll die within a year because these things are not easy to plant. So at 45.23, and the only reason it's temporary is because we have a lot of construction going on and we want to plant the tree there. We weren't able to find at least a consensus around where a big tree would fit nicely. So we're back to conversations that we've been having. I'm okay with this. It's not what the committee had decided on. It's, from a fiscal point of view, I think it's highly responsible. I myself don't use Christmas trees, so I don't know the emotions around fake and real. I'm sure people have different opinions about it. So as I said last time, I'm agnostic, but then the vote was totally split 2-2. So, where are we now? There's 5 of us on this call. Like, does this work for people? Is it fiscally responsible? We think it'll be temporary and then we'll put it somewhere, whether it's in front of the community center for decoration purposes, at one of the new sites, if maybe the developer wants to purchase it from us.
Sporting Park, it might be nice down there.
It might be, but also one of the developers might want to purchase it from us used at some point. Who knows? There are options for things like this because, the Arcadian might want it. A lot of places want it. So from a fiscal point of view, I'm much more comfortable with this than 30-something thousand or 40-something thousand. That seems like a lot of money.
So just a point of correction, this is the most we've discussed this. You made a statement that we've been discussing this. That's not the case. This has been emails, only emails. This is the first real discussion we've had about this.
No, we
No,
don't.
we had
We
another
have-
work session.
When Rico was gone.
Yeah, when I was gone, you guys discussed it and it was a split vote. That's why I then got a call that says you're gonna end up being the deciding vote. There was a discussion in that meeting and you voted on it.
Could look into, I'm just looking, I don't know how large you can go. If you wanted to do a live tree, you would get it in a, you'd get it in a burlap.
Yeah.
Sorry. See, and my guess it would be more like, I don't know if you could get more than 15 feet for a tree. You probably could, but we'd have to look into it a little bit. I'm not sure what the cost would be. It could then be planted subsequently in a park or something, which might be a nice way to, when we can do that every year and add a tree to our park, we might have to compromise. It's not going to be a 32-foot tree, I don't believe, without costing a lot of money, but we could do a smaller tree and replant it too.
So just to back up my price on the live tree, I have someone that gave me that quote and they're more than willing to help with the installation of the tree, if that's the option you
How
want to
many
do.
feet is the other?
It's a 15 to 20-foot tree, basically like what's exactly out in front of the op center, which is a good starting point, in my opinion, and let it grow. But it's my opinion.
Do it where we have it in with the root ball intact and plant it somewhere else subsequent to the holidays too, correct? Or we could plant it wherever we want, right?
That's what the rest of the board wants to do, that's fine.
Wouldn't stay in that
That's-
spot.
That's not my intentions of where I want the tree.
My concern about, we could have it stay in that spot, but you're going to be kind of forced to build around it. And it may or may not be what you ultimately want to see once you have a building.
No, I mean, it would stay there until the building begins. It would.
Well,
stay in
then
that
you'd have
spot.
to, there's but to plant it for like a couple of years, I don't know that that
Doesn't make
makes
sense.
I don't know that that makes sense.
I'm not an arborist, but last time, Maddie, when we did the trees, she said, you gotta cut the burlap. You can't plant with the burlap. You're suffocating the roots. It's just the way they deliver it. Supposed to cut it, the roots are actually supposed to go into the ground, not stay that way. That.
But I think you could
That's it.
keep it there for the holiday period
I
in the
understand.
burlap and then move it and plant it somewhere. I mean.
And then you would have to do that every year until,
Every
I'll
year
just
you get
say
a new tree.
one thing is that the longer it stays in the burlap and the larger the tree is,
The harder
less
it's.
likely it is that it's going to take whenever you put it in its permanent home.
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, we are not spending more time on this than we do on 109 unit development. So we need to come to a conclusion here if you want it for Christmas. Otherwise, we're missing Christmas, in my opinion. And we've been going on this. So, okay, what do people want?
I'll just say, I
Somebody say
personally like
something.
the first tree that you showed, the 25-foot string light tree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it's white lights or multicolored, I don't know. I would have to see the picture, but I mean, I think white lights have a simplicity and a simple beauty to them, but that's just me.
Let's become
Um,
aesthetics. Okay. so
Yeah,
you
well,
like this from
all
the
about
outside,
aesthetics. What can I say?
And the construction and stuff is negligible because it's a pop-up, correct?
There's some construction there, but I think it's within our in-house capabilities to do this, and we could probably put it on a platform too.
I just want to reiterate, we are going to have to still get multiple quotes, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Want to
It's
make
under
sure.
$5,000.
Anything over $3,000, I think you're required to get 3 quotes.
Thank you.
What?
And that's why we were also looking at some of our purchasing concessions, because like the New York State contract and things like that, if we can find something that's covered by one of those agreements, then you don't have to get multiple quotes. You can pick whatever it is that's covered under that contract. But in this case, you would still need to get 3 quotes of a string light tree, which I think would be much easier than the very sort of bespoke one that.
And this
Those-
company, I know we've purchased from before, so it's a company that we've used.
What is the minimum for a 3 bid, for the 3 bids, 3,000?
So if it's, I believe, and I know Dale's not on the
It's
call.
not a permanence, it's not a capital.
No.
$2,000.
Yeah, it's 2,000. So we can spend up to $2,000 without having to get multiple quotes. If it's between 2,000 and 3,000, I think you need 2 verbal quotes. And if it's over 3,000, you need written quotes. And then over a certain threshold, you actually need to go out to bid.
Okay. All right. It almost makes sense that if you actually meet with this, it almost makes sense that if it's under 2,000 and Bob has a bid from somebody and you check this person out, that it's insured, that it's because if it dies within a year and there's no insurance on it, when you don't need to go to a bid, that might make a difference because then we have an actual tree and the financial actually, and then you have to get lights for the tree, which I assume we have laying around somewhere. But otherwise, I don't know if we'll have all this by Christmas if we keep going back and forth on this. So I'm fine with this guy over here, and I'm fine with the color. I think most people like multicolor, but what do I know? And because I like actually the fact that it could be put somewhere and then moved personally, and I actually believe that one of our developers will end up buying it after we're done. Not that I can force them to, but it would be nice if they did. And that would be nice. You have somebody that could do the tree, but he hasn't spoken to anybody like Bill or anything to see.
If you want to,
Tree is
do you have
insured.
can you give me the contact number? We'll follow up tomorrow. All right, that would be
And we
great.
can do that by email. You could just say, yeah.
Yeah, we look into
Although
it.
it's a little bit shorter than this, right? It's 15 to 20, so it'll be.
It's still, it's a decent sized tree. If that's about the size of the one at the op center, it's not as big as the one that's there currently, but it's a decent size. So, let me look into that. We should be able to resolve this. This should be easy to get the quotes and we'll reach out to
Right.
Bob's contact and, if we can do it, we'll provide those options and pictures and then, we will resolve it promptly so that we can order it in time for the holidays.
Yeah, if anybody had seen that tree decorated this year, they did a beautiful job.
Yeah,
whoever
they
it.
did do a nice job.
It was a beautiful
They
tree.
did, yeah,
The
they did a very nice job. So,
Okay.
all right.
Done with color.
I think we're done with holiday trees. Bill, thank you so much.
I have a
All right.
question for him.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Wait,
no,
wait,
no,
wait.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Bill, what is that container behind, in the back parking lot by Verizon that's been sitting there for months and is now accumulating TV screens and all that stuff?
I looked today and it is gone.
I'm sorry?
I looked today and it's gone.
Do you know who it belonged to?
It was the construction company that was doing the open door. Had put it, they had rented it and had placed it there.
Okay. Thank you.
Reach out to have them move it. So I'm not exactly sure what the challenge was there, but they were aware that it needed to be moved. So I'm glad that they moved it. Next up, as you all know, we received the bids for the multimodal transportation hub. And although they came in higher than we had anticipated, we were able to have the state reallocate some funding. We would like to award the contract or have a resolution to vote on to award the contract on next week's agenda. So if you remember, it's the general contractor and the three prime contractors for HVAC, electric, and plumbing. The total cost of the lowest responsible bid was a little over 18 million for the construction. With contingency and including the soft cost, the design cost that we had already spent, that brings it up to $21 million. This is, this will be a not to exceed contract. And Paul Frioli, our village engineer and head of public works, is also on the call if you have any, on the Zoom, if you have any questions.
I mean, honestly, I don't know what questions to ask when something comes so above what we thought it was going to be originally, except that everything's more expensive. So I'm always concerned that when things come way over the original estimate, eventually we don't have endless amount. Eventually, either we give up on the aesthetics, which to me are very important, because this is what urbanization looks like. You have to do the minimums, so you end up with a lot of concrete and no aesthetics that humans actually need, and they're not extras. And the other part is, I don't know what project at the end is going to fall off because of this. And I'm told, oh, don't worry, but I do worry because it's not infinite. So I'm hoping the community center, we might be able to save something. Maybe some of the other pieces can be kept. So I don't know how to ask questions when something comes so above
Well, one of the things
the projected budgets. I'm not blaming anybody. I just don't know what's
one of
expected
the
of
things we
board.
are going to be looking at is we are going to be looking at some value engineering when we award the contract with the general contractor. So there may be things not to compromise the design. We'd have to go back to the drawing board with the state. I mean, we have to get a lot of approvals from a lot of different people on this. So not necessarily to compromise the integrity of the structure, but maybe considering some things that we can do executionally in terms of, how we stage. That was one of the issues that some of the contractors raised. It's a tight spot. How are we going to stage? Working with the precast company. And Paul, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but certainly our primary objective is to keep this job as close to budget or on budget, on time, but also look at ways we can save money beyond what we've already worked on. So Paul, I don't know if you want to add anything?
Do you have anything to add, Paul, or not?
No, she put it very well, the manager.
Okay. Maddie, is there anything, you and I were in the meeting last Friday with Pete Harcum. He's, one of my comments was time has cost us a lot of money. The state taking time more than we expected. Things take 4 years instead of a year, etc. Again, no finger pointing. I don't have a person's name that did anything bad or wrong, but in the end, it's cost us a lot of money every year, every month. It's like, and he said he wants to be helpful. So I know he says it, but I think we need to take him up on that. There might be pieces that maybe he can help us with, if not all of it. So, but I don't have any questions. Anybody else? Nope. You? No. Okay.
All right.
Next.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
All right. The next item is our contract with Keller Sessions, our engineering consultant, is going to expire in October. So we'd like to have an RFQ. They're due for an RFQ. As you remember, we set up a policy where every 3 years, typically, for our standing consultants, that we would issue an RFP. That's been working out well for us. So we would like to, on next week, have a resolution, or tonight, I'm sorry, special meeting tonight to issue an RFQ for engineering wetlands consulting.
So the RFQ is to put a request out there
Yeah.
to get bidders.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's-
Request for qualifications in
Right.
this case.
We're good? Mm-hmm.
All right. And the next item, we had talked about cannabis dispensaries, the number of applications we're getting, our consideration, the board's consideration of a moratorium so that we can look at where we're zoning for cannabis and determine, the board can evaluate where they might want to change, or limit specific uses for cannabis in certain areas. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Corporation Counsel Kahan.
Thank you, Village Manager. Folks, you were provided with a copy of a proposed local law, which would be a moratorium for submission and processing. And it relates not only to cannabis dispensaries, because the board had expressed issues with regard to vape shops, smoke shops, vape lounges, vape consumption businesses. I learned a lot of interesting definitions looking at all these different things.
Or you could have just asked a high school kid, it would have been the same.
I guess that's true. This would be a moratorium in many ways similar to what this board
Right.
previously did with regard to the RDD and the SPN zoning districts. It would be an 8-month moratorium. It could be shortened at any time that the board wants. It could be extended for up to 4 months, basically 6 months in. If you think you need more time, you can give yourself some more time. It would relate to land use applications. So if someone has gone through the land use process and is now looking to get a building permit, you would not stop the person from getting the building permit. But it would deal with basically anything going before zoning or planning, or potentially before this board if there was for some reason a special permit that was being sought. And it would apply again to all of those different places, both cannabis dispensaries, vape shops, smoke shops, lounges, and things like that. We do include in here, I took a lot of this, if I may say, from the city of Schenectady, which had local laws like this. But also a lot of this comes, if you look on Long Island, towns of Babylon, towns of Islip have similar local laws in terms of what is basically a substantial portion of a business. Because someone may say, well, I may sell just one particular product here, but the rest of my place, you would not be covered by that. And just so folks know, selling matches does not automatically disqualify you, because there would be a concern that's specifically in here. So that's what this would be. It would be a moratorium. If the board is okay, it would then have to be referred to the planning board because it's a change in the zoning code. Planning would then look at it, then come back, and you would have to schedule yourselves with a public hearing with regard to this. But it would afford the board the ability to essentially see where you might want them, these particular locations, and what kind of restrictions you might want to place. Because again, as relates specifically to cannabis, time, place, and manner restrictions are permitted within the confines of the state's regulations. So again, as we have here, and the states have it, retail hours of operation, visual or architectural integrity if you're in a historic district, parking, traffic control, odor control, noise and distance requirements are all things that you could consider and put into your legislation. You don't have that now. You're basically now just whatever the use is, it's in there. We do have certain restrictions relating to odor, but that's more with regard to more greenhouses. If someone were to actually have a growing facility, we've not gotten any of those applications here because those tend to require far greater acreage than you would find in the village. But again, it would be an 8-month moratorium. At any time, the board could shorten and the board could lengthen up to an additional 4 months. And finally, again, as I said, only relating to land use applications that would be made. If someone had gone through the process and was looking for a certificate of occupancy, this would not stop them from getting the CO. If
It's
someone
in the pipeline.
right,
already.
basically, if you've gone through that point, we're not putting you under the role of the moratorium. So that's the local law. As with the other local law, there are penalties if you don't comply. But the fact of the matter is, if it's going to be at the land use stage, the likelihood is there wouldn't be an issue because if someone were to open up a dispensary and not comply with this, they're looking at other things far more serious than violating the village's moratorium. They'd have both criminal charges and they'd have issues with regard to State Department of Taxation and Finance. So the likelihood of that having to come to the fore is less, but there is a penalty provision in here in the event that would occur.
Okay, thank you for that. Pat, I know that, I know that you were going to look at the Schenectady legislation. I don't know if you had a chance. I'm going to start with you. Do you have any questions or comments?
I did look at the Schenectady, but I think Village Council did a very, very good job of appropriately kind of reflecting the conversation from the previous meeting, as well as kind of what Schenectady had done, right? I like, in what he put together, I kind of like we could argue is 40% right or 50% right or whatever, right? But I do think, that's honestly, in the whole like way that it was written, that was the only kind of point of discussion that we might have from my perspective. I thought that the wording around land use related applications is good because that helps to box things bluntly.
Okay, great. I have no comment. Anybody else? Anybody? Is that a yes?
So the footage is 500 feet and 200 feet, correct? From 250 or 200?
Front door to
I
front?
think
Door-
it's 5 and 250. I would have to
From
go
door
back
to
and check.
from
I
door to
believe
door.
that's correct.
From door to door.
Door to door.
No, door to door, and from a school perspective, they also, and this is the big one, right? It's and on the same street,
Correct.
right?
Within the 500 feet.
Yes.
Okay. So we have 3 right now through land use. In land use, but they're not, this moratorium will not affect them. Okay. So all the stars align. And we decide, when do you think we would realistically be voting on this moratorium?
If the referral is in, oh, excuse me, assistant manager, it is yours.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah.
Geez, guys. So on August 20th, if the board is comfortable after this conversation, we can make the referral and at the same time call for the public hearing. And then.
No, we need to hear back from planning before we can call for the public hearing.
So the planning board meeting is on 8/27. So I think it's between the times that you meet again. So then you can call for the public hearing because you'll have their feedback on September 3rd.
Right.
Which means this would be scheduled unless there's, an issue going through to be adopted on October 1st.
Right. Well, what you do is we'd call for public hearing. It would be the 3rd. The public hearing would be 2 weeks after that would be the 17th. Adoption would be the 1st, probably on the books no later than October 8th.
Okay, so this brings me to the other 2 that want to do pre-app meetings. That I think you spoke with one, which is a very involved application. So if these people insist on going into, or we're going to tell them we won't accept it at the land use board level, how do we address that between now and October?
You want to start first?
Because they have a window to.
You've been doing well.
So I think, and I do think that, these are good questions. And the reason I do have it jotted down here is because we have given it a lot of thought. We certainly don't want to give anyone short shrift if they've already gone to the trouble of making an application and all that kind of stuff. So we've tried to be very thoughtful about how we might approach this. But for those two folks, the next step for them would be the same as the process has gone thus far, to make a formal presentation to this board, at which time we would write the letter to OCM and then get them to apply to a land use board. The chance of either one of them being able to be through the land use process by October 8th is 0. There's no chance that that's going to be possible. I understand that the board may still want to hear from them, but I think my worry is that for them to prepare that presentation, bring in a design professional that's going to make them spend more money. They're welcome to do that, and the board's certainly welcome to ask them to do that. But I think, in the interest of fairness, it might be good to, at this point in the process, say, hey, look, we might see you again in a year, but for right now, this is the process. And unfortunately, the door has shut.
All right, so one is an extravagant project, building a building. The other one is telling us they signed a lease, which I'm not worried about that, but that doesn't make me say, okay, well, we're going to let you do it because you signed a lease. That's a piece of the puzzle that I would want to see anyways. So my feeling is if we go through with this, at our public hearing, we'll probably hear from them, I would imagine.
That's what they're for.
Right. So
Yes.
I'm good.
That's actually the purpose. of
Just
public
so it's clear,
hearings.
it's actually not a public hearing when they come before you, is
But
it?
you mean it would be the public hearing on
No, when
the
you,
moratorium local law?
well,
That's
the
a
public,
local law.
yes,
Absolutely.
the public hearing for the moratorium,
Correct.
they
would
could come in
most
front of
likely
us.
Come in and say,
And-
and again, as I mentioned to the board, if the applicant believes that the moratorium is incorrect, they can go to the Office of Cannabis Management. And if Cannabis Management says no, and you have not yet adopted it, then it goes nowhere. Then there is no moratorium. But
But the timeline's not working in their favor right now.
no, because as I said, we would probably be looking at it being on the books by the 8th of October.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the truth is that no matter when you do a moratorium, it doesn't work for someone. The pipeline continues. So whatever you do with moratoriums, you always want to find a way to do it so it doesn't harm people. But the odds are that somebody is in the process of something, when you do them. So you try to be careful on how and when we do them. What else do we have?
Okay, our next agenda item. We'll talk about our preliminary.
Yeah, there's,
Our next agenda item, Corporation Council will talk about our prisoner transport contract with the County of Westchester.
Thank you. This is a renewal of the biennial contract that the village has. Actually, many municipalities have this with the county. It relates to transport of prisoners who are basically in the Ossining courts and are being transported either to the county jail, to the courts, or back here. And it only deals with arrests that are made by the village. It's not arrests made by the county. There are various provisions, but for Zone 2, which includes Ossining Village, round trip reimbursement for 2025 will be $251.11. Round trip reimbursement for 2026 would be $259.28. There are different rates if in fact a matron is required, meaning female officer, or if in fact there is a lengthy period of time for a wait for a prisoner. But this is essentially the zone rate agreement that the board entered into 2 years ago, and it's up now again. We just received it from the county, even though it will backdate into effect on January the 1st.
So the reimbursements from the county.
Yes. Yeah, we have to provide insurance to the county, but the reimbursement is the county back to us.
there's not much, we don't control any of this. None of the levers, it's a contract. I'm assuming we're fine to go forward since there's not much else we can do. Next,
Next is basically a motion to adjourn the work session to go into special session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Uh,
Um,
Okay,
So we're going right into the special.
we're now into the special
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna take a couple of minutes break, please, and we will be back. We're back. Look
Okay,
at
folks,
this
we are.
mic.
What's up?
I'm gonna log out and log back in real quick. So,
Okay, Pat.
yep.
What? No, yeah, I didn't know that. Sorry. Okay,
Now we're on.
okay. Resolution A, approval of voucher detail, August 13, 2025. Resolved that
you.
the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated August 13, 2025, in the amount of $855,264.41. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments?
All in favor?
Aye.
Just on the question, it's a regular voucher?
Yeah, we're going to get to the next one now.
Okay.
Next, approval of IBWTP voucher detail, August 13, 2025. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the IWTP voucher detail report dated August 13, 2025, in the amount of $147,889. Do I have a motion?
So move?
Second.
Any comments? Stuart?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Resolution C, agreement with Kellard Sessions Consulting, Engineering, and Landscape Architects Planning. Resolved that following review by the Corporation Council, village manager or designee is authorized to sign agreement with Kellard Sessions Consulting, Engineering, and Landscape Architecture to provide construction management and inspection services on behalf of the village for the development of the Crescent Manor location at 136-140 Croton Avenue, and be it further resolved that the terms of the agreement are set forth in the contract proposal dated June 2, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So move?
Second.
Questions,
Ye-
comments?
Yeah, what are we gonna be, this is not our project, this apartment building. Why are we hiring someone to
Maddie, you
work
wanna-
on it?
I can take this one. So, this is an escrow, that the developer is gonna be asked to pay for, but because it's over the $15,000 threshold, and ultimately if the developer doesn't pay it and work is done, we would be responsible, to some degree. Stuart recommended that we have a resolution on to cover ourselves.
Why didn't we just raise the amount the developer has to put in?
The developer is going to be asked to put an amount into escrow that covers this agreement and then a much smaller agreement from another outside consultant. These are basically things that are outside the scope of work that our building department is comfortable doing. So these are fees that are charged through an escrow agreement, which Stuart has also helpfully prepared to property owners of these very large projects. So it's something that we've talked to Mr. Apicella before in general terms and what we need to talk to him in specifics about. But again, this is not something that's going to be paid for by the village. This is just an agreement that Stuart recommended we get a resolution from the board for in the rare event that the developer does not pay for bills that are incurred by the village.
Since the agreement is between the village and Kellard, I believe it appropriate to have a resolution of this board approving it, even though the money is ultimately going to be escrowed and paid through that escrow fund. Kellard's agreement is with the village. It is not with McQuestern that is actually the developer.
But you're saying if they go over budget, we're now responsible for it.
Well, what I'm saying is because the agreement is between us and Kellard Sessions, and they're doing work for the developer at the behest of the village, Stuart felt that the agreement would better be approved by this board.
And if I might, the escrow agreement that Maddie made reference to has specific points at which if the escrow drops below a certain amount, they meaning McQuestern, will be told immediately it's got to be replenished up to X. So that there should never, I won't say would never, but there should never be a point where it goes below where Kellard will be looking to the village. And indeed, Kellard knows that this money is all coming out of an escrow that's being paid. The sum that's actually in the agreement is based upon what Kellard understood to be their expenses for the work that's going to be done by them at the 136-140 site.
And if we didn't have such a resolution, what would happen?
If you didn't have, well, again, since the board is technically entering into an agreement with Kellard, and it's an agreement for more than $15,000, it is the board that's got to approve it. If you don't approve it, my view is that you don't have an agreement with Kellard, and then the rest, and then like dominoes, you would potentially have a problem because Kellard would say, well, I have no agreement here. I'm much more comfortable having an agreement with Kellard than not having an agreement with them to do this work. I leave it up to the board.
All right, we're in the middle of a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Resolution D, authorize purchase of equipment for the Ossining Volunteer Fire Department. Whereas pursuant to the procurement policy of the Village of Ossining, a contract may be awarded without competition when the village manager, upon recommendation of the applicable department head, who concludes in writing, following a good faith review of available resources and public advertising, the village's intention to make a purchase on a sole or single source basis 14 days prior to the issuance of the award, that there is only one source for the required commodity, supply, service, or construction item. And whereas a sole or single source procurement will only apply in the following situations: only one company makes and sells a certain good or provides a certain service. Only one company can maintain service or maintain the equipment without voiding the warranty. Where the provided service is performed by a company with a specific territory. And whereas in determining whether a procurement qualifies as a sole source, the village manager and the applicable department head will show at a minimum the unique benefits to the village of the item as compared to other products available in the marketplace, that no other products provide substantially equivalent or similar benefits, that considering the benefits received, the cost of the item is reasonable in comparison to other products in the marketplace, and that there is no possibility of competition as from competing dealers or distributors. And whereas the village manager, upon recommendation of the assistant village manager and the length of service LoSAP committee of the Ossining Volunteer Fire Department, determined that the products and services offered by Fire Rescue Services, SCM, for the implementation of the LoSAP system, effective January 1, 2026, following a public referendum on November 4, 2025, meet the requirements for sole or single source purchase, thereby awarding the contract without competition. And whereas notice of the village's intention to make the purchase on a sole or single source basis was published in the Gazette, the official newspaper of the Village of Ossining, on July 24, 2025, and whereas no challenge to the proposed purchase has been received, now therefore be it resolved, the village manager is authorized to sign the February 28, 2025 quote from Fire Rescue Services, SCM, 125 Wireless Boulevard, Suite 2, Hauppauge, New York, 11788, for the listed products and services, and to sign such other documents as needed to effectuate the purchase. Can I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Anybody have any questions? Stuart?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Pat said aye.
Got it. Resolution E, authorize issuance of request for qualifications, engineering and wetland consultant. Resolved that following review by the Corporation Council, village manager or her designee is authorized to issue a request for qualifications, engineering and wetland consultant. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Stuart?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Do I have a motion to adjourn the special meeting to go into executive sessions for matters of personnel and litigation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 9:21. This meeting is adjourned and we're going to executive session. Have a good evening.